Penn State quarterback Drew Allar has all the tools, the traits, and the prototypical size to be the number 1 overall pick in 2026. We're going to break down his game and more quarterbacks from the 2026 NFL Draft coming up next.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson. I'm an offensive NFL draft analyst with Bleach Report. That's my guy, Keith Sanchez. He is the director of scouting with the Draft Network and 2019 national champion with those LSU Tigers. And as always, thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers, guys. We're going to get into more quarterbacks from the 2026 NFL Draft in our summer scouting series. Drew Allar, does he have a case to be QB1 up there with Arch Manning and some of the other top guys in this class? Darion Mensah, the guy that transferred from Tulane to Duke, and what can he do for the Duke Blue Devils, and where will he land in this draft class? And then Haynes King, is he this year's Riley Leonard? We're going to talk about all that and more. So let's start with Drew Allar, guys. Like 6'5", he has all the prototypical everything. 6'5", 210 plus pounds, probably 215, 220. Rocket arm, Keith, guy that can make. There's no throw on the field that he can't make. Like, he can access every quadrant of the field from an arm talent standpoint. Watching him, this guy who is a more than functional athlete. Like, he's not going to be somebody that you run like Lamar Jackson or Jalen. He's not going to do all that stuff. But you're talking about being able to get first downs with his legs, create when pressure gets back there, when he's actually identified it. Yes, he can do things like that. What he's going to be able to live is going to be from the pocket, be able to see over the line of scrimmage. Like I said, make every throw. He flashes. The big thing with him is consistency. He flashes the good stuff. He flashes the accuracy, the ball placement, things of that nature. And then you see the head distraction plays. And for me, the biggest thing I want him to fix is going to be his footwork. Like, this is a guy, and it's something I've noticed just over the last decade or so, scouting quarterbacks. Guys that have big arms, sometimes they don't really care about their lower body. Like, they just throw, like, because they know I have the arm to do that. Yep. Josh Allen was like that. Mahomes was like this. A lot of guys that were like that until they got with the right offseason trainer, coach that really drilled in and helped them dial in on their mechanics. He has to fix that, because his accuracy like peaks and valleys. It's because of the fact that he doesn't engage his footwork. He throws a little bit off his back foot. He doesn't step in and trust the turn and the torque of his torso and things of that nature. His upper body mechanics are fine, but you got to keep everything in sync as a passer when it comes down to it all. For me, Keith, and I think Drew Allar, I would say this: he has probably the best case to, if Arch is in this class, let's say him and Arch both have strong seasons, he has a strong case to really like challenge Arch for that QB1 spot. Because at the end of the day, like, it's like, all right, you look at Drew Allar, you look at Penn State, team that's successful, right? You can't take nothing away from Penn State. What do they typically don't have? Receivers. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's why they did with everything they did with Tyler Warren last year. All the manufactured stuff. They can run the ball. That's going to happen. They're going to run the ball with the two running backs. But what they do at receiver this offseason, transfer portal, whatever they've done, come fall, it has to work out, because that's going to really determine. We saw that last year with Carson Beck, Keith. We talked about it. Georgia's limited wide receiver talent after their top guys got in trouble. Mm-hmm. It hurt that offense. It hurt Carson Beck. And we saw it kind of hurt Drew Allar at times last year. They got to get that receiver situation straight, and then he's got to fix his inconsistencies with his lower body mechanics. And then just the decision making sure, listen, I know it's one thing. I always say this, Keith: if you have a limited arm, you better be on time, because if you're late, it's a pick. It just is what it is. Guys with big arms don't mind being a little bit late, because it's like, I can fit it in. And it's like, it's a little bit of arm arrogance. You need to be able to coach that, not coach it out of him, but just coach it down to where he's not overly confident that I can just make the throw. That's why Brett Favre I think he is leads interceptions in history at quarterback, because there was no throw or window he thought he couldn't fit the ball into. That's why he threw so many picks. because it's just arrogance, and he's got to kind of just simmer it down a little bit.
Yeah, I look at Drew Allar, and I think there's a common theme that we're starting to come with some of these quarterbacks, and reason why it's so hard to etch these guys in stone when it comes to QB rankings and things like that, right? This early, because it's decision making, DP. It's flat out decision making, and we talked about it. I want to say it was a couple weeks ago, right? Like we're talking about being in a playoff game, and I think that was against Notre Dame, right? And I believe he gifted them the game by throwing an interception, right? The one thing he couldn't do, he did, and that was the ebbs and flows with Penn State. And I remember heading into last year, right? So watching 2 years ago film, right? Like there was some really good stuff when they played West Virginia and some of the lesser opponents, but then when they got to the Ohio States, they got to the Michigans, it was head scratching stuff. And I said, and I say it again, that previous year, if he would have just made the routine throws against Ohio State, they had a chance to beat them, right? And I think what Drew is going to come down to, and like you said, the mechanics part of it, but the mental part of it, right? Like how like you can't go in the tank too, right? Like in high leverage moments, I need to know how you're going to show up in pressurized moments. And we've seen it time and time again. So many of these quarterbacks look good when everything else is good around them, right? Like you really define a quarterback by those pressurized moments and when things are not great. The reason we love the Josh Allens, the Patrick Mahomes, that's because of those are the off-script situations, right? Those are the things that you can't coach. Those are the things that are out of the practice script, right? Like we didn't practice this, but go make a play. And Drew Allar has to be able to do that. I look at the comparison because you mentioned Arch, right? Looking at him and Arch, in my opinion, they're almost polar opposites as far as what their strengths and weaknesses are, like even their body types, right? Like you believe that Drew Allar is 6'4", 6'5", 230 pounds. Arch looks a little bit, and you said it, yesterday, like a couple days ago. Yeah, he looks 6'2", 215, 210, something like that, right? So different body types, but also their strengths, I believe, are different, right? The Arch is more of an anticipatory thrower. Drew is a see it and rip it type of football player, and not that he can't throw it in anticipation, but that's just how he comes off. So I look at Drew Allar, DP, and heading into this year, he has everything in front of him. I thought that if he would have completed the run, he would have done enough for NFL personnel to feel comfortable with drafting him in the first round. But the way he ended the season off, right, with throwing an interception, was like that was very hard to enter the draft, ending off the season like that. It was just very difficult. So I definitely understood why he decided to come back.
Yeah, and I'm gonna give, give Penn State some credit. They went out there, they were able to bring in some weapons. They brought who was a transfer from Troy, I think it's like 5'10", $170, kind of more of a slot receiver. Then they got one of USC's talented receivers, 6'1", 215, Kyron Hudson. So they went and definitely went and added some pieces, some more pieces to this offense that I think compared to, throwing the Julian Fleming last year, stuff like that. Like, I go back to that Ohio State game where they were in that game. Like they were in that game. He was coming off the game against Wisconsin. He only played the first half because I think it was like may have been like a ligament sprain in his knee. He had like a big bulky brace on. He only threw the ball like 20 times in that game. He had like 12 completions on 20 attempts, 146 yards, 0 touchdowns, and that one interception. The one interception should have been a touchdown. The receiver actually caught the ball, but he let I think it was David Igbenuson strip the ball from him in the end zone, and it became an interception. I'm just like, yeah, in a game like this against this type of opponent, you can't have those type of things happen. So shout out to James Franklin. He finally went out there, got some guys through the portal. They've been losing guys through the portal over the past couple years. Keandre Lambert, who went to Auburn last offseason, things of that nature. So being able to get some guys in is going to, hopefully with an uptick in talent will help. I think also just kind of help the decision-making from Drew, because there was a lot of, it's either Drew, Nick Singleton, Kaytron Allen, or Tyler Warren. It was one of those four that had to make a play. And when you throw in the ball, the other two guys really don't matter as much when it's true drop back sets because they're running backs. You know what I mean? Even though Nick Singleton is an outstanding receiver out of the backfield, he's not beating corners lined up as a receiver. You need your receivers to get open, to make plays, to catch the ball, things of that nature. I think that will help, but it's going to be this is going to be a year to watch. I think he has all the tools. If he puts it together this year, Keith, Like, and I think that's where it's gonna. Because then I look at Arch, and no disrespect to Arch, I love Arch. How will Arch look in Penn State's offense? You know what I mean? Like with no weapons, offensive line shaky, just 2 running backs. They got to make sure that these weapons are ready to go so that Drew Allar can not just play his way into being a first-round pick and solidify that, but you can then get yourself back to the CFP as a team. You got there last year. Your defense is still good. Granted, you don't have Abdul, but you still have like good players on that defensive line and in the secondary. You got to be able to make plays on offense. We'll see how it plays out, but he's got all the tools to get it done. Now we got to see how he can develop.
Yup, with DP, let's do this, man. We're talking money. Yes, at the reported time, we're talking about Tulane quarterback Darion Mensah transferred to Duke, and yes, he was the highest paid quarterback in the NIL era at the time. DP, let's talk about Darion Mensah and what makes him special. We're going to talk about that coming up next.
As a small business owner, your work doesn't end when the clock hits 5. Your business is always on your mind, which means when it's time to hire, you need a partner that works just as hard as you do. That's where LinkedIn Jobs comes in. When you clock out, LinkedIn clocks in. LinkedIn makes it easy to post your job for free, share it with your network, and get qualified candidates all in one place. Post your job. LinkedIn's new feature can help you write job descriptions and then quickly get your job in front of the right people with deep candidate insights. And here's a pro tip. Add the hashtag hiring frame to your profile picture to double your reach to qualified candidates. No wonder 72% of small businesses say LinkedIn helps them find high quality hires. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Money, Keith. That's how you tease that transition, and it's right. I think he got nearly $8 million in NIL to transfer.
I have something to say. Because in college football, they killed Nico Imiava, right? And kind of like character stuff and shit. He's asking for too much money, too demanding. Who would pay him $4 million a year? Well, DP, you got Carson Beck, who we broke down, was that yesterday or day before yesterday, who had 3 games with 3 interceptions, who's making reportedly $4 million a year, right, at Miami. Yeah. And then now you have Darion Mensah, who's transferring from Tulane to Duke, right, and making $4 million reportedly a year. So I just wanted to say, clear that up for Nico. Like, I get it. Like, I understand why you asked for it, because that was probably the market, right? And it's not like we're 100%. Talking about quarterbacks that were proven Heisman winners that are asking for $4 million a year, right? You're talking about a guy that transferred from Tulane to Duke, and then you're talking about a guy that threw 3 interceptions 3 different times last year, and is coming off of an injury, right? To end the season. Let's get into Darion Mensah, man. And I'm gonna say this: let Russ cook. That's what I seen. I seen a mobile quarterback. I seen an accurate guy. I seen a guy with good mobility. Overall, I seen him make plays with his legs. I seen a guy with a strong arm, right? I'm not going to say that he has one of the strongest arms in the entire class, but I thought that he could pretty much make every throw on the field, right? And it was fun seeing him in this Tulane offense and then trying to project him forward. And this is a guy that coming out of high school, DP. I think he was a 2-star kid out of California, right? So you're talking about the upward trajectory part for his career. And now he's at Duke, right? And Duke has a history of, with decent quarterback, like treating quarterbacks the right way, right?
Yeah.
And, you're talking about Riley Leonard, being able to get him, and then Daniel Jones a few years ago. And I believe there's another quarterback came out of Duke a couple years before that. But yeah, just looking at that, and I'm like, Darion Mensah, there's some things there. I don't know if I see him in the light of, hey, this is a first round lock him in type of quarterback, but I see him in the however the NFL and we decide that we want to treat quarterbacks, right? I see him as a possible like 3rd round guy that you talk about that same range with the Russell Wilsons. We just seen Dylan Gabriel go in the 3rd round, right? Like some of those guys that won't check all the physical boxes, but it looks like they have some athletic ability combined with, can they play the game in a cool, calm, collected manner?
Yeah, I like this tape. You know, like everything you laid out there, Keith. The athleticism is there, the ability to create. If things break down around him, he does keep his eyes down the field, even when he's moving towards the line of scrimmage. It's not just tucking and run with him. I like the arm talent. You know what I mean? He's a guy that, you know, and for people that don't know, like he's listed now. Again, we don't have the verified measure. This is what the schools are putting out there. I think he's listed at 6'3", 200 pounds. One thing I've kind of noticed with this class is that there's size in this class, like the physical height, weight, the stuff that the NFL looks for, like frames, arm talent, mobility. It's littered all over the college football landscape with guys that's eligible for the 2026 NFL draft. And I mean, I think, you know, the guy that threw for a little over 2,700 yards passing last year, he completed 66% of his passes, 22 passing touchdowns, 6 interceptions. What he has in front of him is a chance to go and change a program at Duke. You know what I mean? And Keith, that goes a long way. And again, we don't know if he's going to actually declare, because I think he'll be a redshirt sophomore, I believe. I think he'll be a redshirt sophomore. So he still has like some eligibility left or whatever. But if he were to declare, if you change Duke's fortunes in the ACC, and they're a team that wins 9, 10 games, and you're the leading catalyst to that as a passer, as a runner, as a leader, yeah, NFL teams are going to love that about you, because it's like, man, he went to a unforeseen situation. He didn't he got paid, but he didn't get paid to go to Bama. He didn't get paid to go to Georgia, like where it was like, yo, I have 5 stars littered around me. He got paid to go to Duke, and then he changed what they were able to do and what they look like from a program standpoint. Because now, Keith, as you know, success in 2025 for Duke, 9, 10 wins. That looks good to recruits. You know what I mean? Because not only is like, okay, not only can I get paid by Duke, we can win games. We can be successful. And I think for him, I like his accuracy for the most part. You know what I mean? I feel like there's a lot more that he could show and develop into.
I think
we probably haven't been able to see.
Yeah, I left feeling like, okay, I think there's more here, right?
Yeah,
at the end of the
100%.
day, like I'm seeing some at Tulane, but the Tulane numbers weren't even like off the chart type numbers, right? So you feel like there could be a whole lot more there for him.
No, 100%. I think that's how I look at it, kid. I think with the size, like I said, I think his arm is good. Like, I don't think, like you said, he's not having that elite caliber arm, but I think he does throw with good touch, especially down the field.
Accuracy,
and everything, and accuracy. So, I mean, I think he has the tools that the NFL likes and is going to really look into. Like I said, he can. With right now, like, I'm gonna be completely honest, and this would be a conversation for a whole different day. QB1 for this class. Oh, it's TBD, baby. It's to be determined, because there's so many guys that have everything physically, and now it's like, okay, I need to, you put it all together. Arch, I need to see you for a full season. I need to see you against Georgia. I need to see you against Bama. These big time programs where their defense will give you a little bit better looks than Mississippi State and UTSA and stuff like that. And then you want to see some of these other guys who have all the physical tools. Can you put it together mentally? I think Darion Mensah is a guy that you need, like, for our I call them our sickos, our everydayers that listen to us, Keith, even when the draft isn't going. If you're not a big college football fan, but you're a big draft fan, please keep your eyes on Duke and that offense. They had I think it's Malik Murphy last year. And
he transferred to Oregon State, I believe.
He did. He definitely transferred to Oregon State and everything. But they had a solid year with him at quarterback. You know what I mean? And this, again, Duke isn't a team that's just like littered with talent. Like, they don't have a bunch of like 5-star, 4-star receivers, big name. These guys are ranking top 5 in their position all across the board. But if Mensah can go in there, and I think he can elevate this team. The ACC is like, who won the ACC last year? Was it Miami?
I believe it was
SMU. Was it?
No, it was.
It was SMU. SMU, was it SMU or Clemson won too? No, wait, Clemson won it because they beat SMU in the ACC championship game. That whole stretch of the season was crazy for the ACC. But I think
Clemson just snuck in at the back end. That's what it was, and that's how they made
Miami loss.
And that's how they made the playoffs. Yeah.
Shout out to Kyle McCord knocking Miami out of the ACC championship game. Yep, that's exactly what happened. So, like, I think you get to this situation, and the ACC is going to be, I think ACC going to be super competitive. With Darian Mensah at Duke, Cade Clubnik that we're going to talk about on tomorrow's show. You got Kevin Jennings, the quarterback at SMU. Like, Kyron Drones is back at Va Tech, at Virginia Tech. Like, the ACC is going to be a lot of fun to watch for college football fans, for draft fans, definitely want to keep your eyes on Darion Mensah. I think with everything he brings to the table, Keith, I'm looking forward to this full development for a full year, and it's a step up in competition for him too.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You know, going from Tulane to the ACC, where you might end up seeing Clemson's defense with TJ Parker and Peter Woods and Avion Terrell and all those guys, and Wade-Az, and like, yeah, they got a lot of NFL talent over there at Clemson. You know what I mean? So like, if you go out there and shine against those guys, NFL decision making is going to perk their ears up. So, okay, like, is this guy entering the draft this year? Like, he's got some statement moments, and I think, Keith, that's really what it comes down to. I think you talked about it a while back. The Heisman is all about moments for Heisman's. Like, I think drafts every year with the draft, it's moments for the draft prospects too. It's like, yeah, let's see you develop, but in those big time opportunities, do you cash in? Do you lead your team to victory? If you do, that bodes well for you.
Yep, 100% with DP. Let's do this, man. We are going to Georgia Tech, Mr. Haynes King. They set it off for Florida State last year, DP, when they upset Florida State. I believe they was in Dublin, Ireland, week 1. Yeah. They upset Florida State, but they kept on a good roll, and they had a pretty good team, and that was behind the arms and legs of Haynes King, a dual threat quarterback. Let's talk about who Haynes King is and what to expect. We'll talk about him coming up next.
Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. Georgia Tech quarterback Haynes King. Keith, he started his career at Texas A&M. He was like supposed to be their next franchise guy at quarterback.
Yeah, he's like a 5-star coming out.
Yeah,
5-star kid coming out. Yep.
Didn't work out over there, and he transferred to Georgia Tech. And through 2 years, he's thrown over close to 5,000 yards passing, well over 30, 40 touchdowns and everything. And then I appreciate what he did from 2023 to 2024. In 2023, he had 16 interceptions. He cut that down to 2. Now, yes, he took I think it was like close to 100 less dropbacks, like 99 less attempts, or whatever the case may be, over 100 less dropbacks in 2024 because they ran the ball. To me, Keith, when I look at Haynes King, he's this year's Riley Leonard.
I couldn't agree more, DP. When I watched him, that's all that kept popping up was Riley Leonard.
I saw Riley Leonard. I saw Daniel Jones. I saw some Ryan Tannehill. I said he kind of falls in that bucket. Like, you remember the Georgia game, Keith? He was 26 of 37, 70% completion, 303 yards passing. But he also ran like the same way that, like, he ran the ball 23 times, 111 yards rushing, and 3 rushing touchdowns. The dude is tough. He's gritty. He's physical. He's determined. Like, he has the football character that you look for. Passing wise, I want to see, can he take a step? Like, we wanted to see Riley Leonard take that step. And don't get me wrong, like, no, Notre Dame didn't have a lot of receivers, but like, they treated Riley Leonard like Tim Tebow. Like, it was just like, we're going to power run you almost the entire game. I think they did that against Georgia in the CFP when they beat them. Like, it was a heavy dose of the run game, different things like that. Yeah, he's definitely Riley Leonard to me. Like, he is absolutely 100% Riley Leonard. I think with it.
Do you think? I think he has some more juice. Though,
he does,
like running wise, like with his legs and stuff. I think he has a little bit more juice.
No, he moves.
I would say
differently.
I'm honestly, after I finished watching it, and you look where Georgia Tech placed, right? Like, and they finished better than what a lot of teams. It was the first time Georgia Tech was respectable in quite a few years, right? I think that I'm expecting more of the same, DP, because I think the coach is going to want to win. And they say, you know what? We have a winning formula. We're going to run them, right? And everybody remembers Riley Leonard in that championship game. I believe Notre Dame came out, and Riley Leonard might have had like between 7 and 10 rushing attempts or something like that.
It was heavy QB power.
Yeah, it was heavy QB power. Well, guess what? Every game is like that for Riley Leonard, right? Every game is heavy QB power, QB counters, things like that. So I'm expecting more of the same. I think it'll be fun. You just talked about the ACC. This is a wild card team, right? They're returning a lot of people. Quarterback returning is huge, right? Because somebody could have went and tried to poach him from a bigger program.
For sure.
So just having him back is huge. But unfortunately, DP, I'm kind of expecting more of the same when we're trying to like get that evaluation of him throwing the football, just because they had so much success. But We'll have to just take those data points of the throws and be like, okay, what is there with him? Because I do believe he has a little bit more juice. And there's variance, DP, between Ryan Tannehill being a first round pick and then Riley Leonard going in the 7th round, right? So the question is, can you place yourself somewhere in that 4th-ish round range because you make enough throws that people like?
No, and to your point, Keith, he is going to run the ball a ton. They lost their top receiver, Eric Singleton. He transferred to Auburn. Right? Like, I don't know what it is with these receivers deciding to go play at Auburn and with Peyton Thorne. I don't think it's a better situation for you from a receiving standpoint. Like, I don't understand what's going on. But nonetheless, I definitely think it's going to still be a lot of the same, Keith. Like, it's going to be a lot of run game, a lot of power. And like, to your point of having more juice than Riley Leonard, I think I was watching the Syracuse game. It was like the high red zone. And I think they tried to run QB counter, I think, out or QB sweep outside. And then he showcased contact balance, like side lateral fluidity and ability to make a guy miss, put his hand in the dirt to keep himself upright, and then took off. And you saw like the acceleration. I'm just like, yeah, this dude is a different mover. Like, you know, when you look at Riley Leonard, it was just, all right, I'm going to lower my head, lower my shoulder, and I'm going to get what's blocked. This is a guy that can absolutely like gash you if you don't contain him with his legs. He's got open field speed. He's got elusiveness as a runner. But then I think his arm is solid. I think he has good arm for the most part, solid arm. He's got, to me, in the pocket, his footwork just gets very discombobulated at the top of his drops. Where it's like, you know, if he was in the apartment, Keith, his drop back would sound like a house party. Like, it's just like, it's super loud. It's not calm. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the mechanics of his footwork aren't great. And I'm like, man, if he can like smooth this process out a little bit, it'll help you be ready to throw at the top of your drop, like be able to hit and throw, like get to the top of your drop, have yourself leveled and even to throw and let the ball rip. At times, he's kind of like, his feet are all over the place. He's either too narrow, too wide. He's double hitching, like trying to get his feet underneath him. If he can iron that out, it could help him with accuracy. I think he throws the ball with good touch and layer it down the field and different parts of the field. But I would losing Eric Singleton, who's a really good receiver too. That's why I'm surprised he went to Auburn of all places. Yep. Like, you know, like he's a really like, this is the type of guy that you could look at. Like, if he got into an offense with a good QB, like, I mean, I gave Penn State their credit. That's who you should have thrown the NIL bag at. It was Eric Singleton. If he gets in there with a good quarterback, like this could be a potential 2nd round, back into the 1st round type of receiver.
Yeah,
he's like
Darius Tony type of situation.
Yeah. Yep. And so, like, you know, talented dude, but like losing him, I don't know how this receiver core uplifts the passing game. We might see more of the same for Haynes King, and it's unfortunate, but I think this is a guy that, I mean, Riley Leonard was like a 6th, 7th round pick, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I believe he was a 7th round pick. Yep.
I think Haynes King could end up being like a 5th round pick. Somebody take a flyer on just his ability and what he brings to the table, and just being a upper echelon athlete too, like what a Riley Leonard is.
Yep, I agree with DP. That wraps up another episode, man, of the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I want to end this podcast off by saying shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day. Every listener is greatly appreciated here over at Locked On NFL Draft. I am Keith Sanchez. You can find me on X at The Talent Code. That right there is my guy, my co-host, Mr. Damian Parson. You can find him on X at DP_NFL. And like we like to say, man, y'all come talk to us because we like to talk back.
Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. On tomorrow's show, guys, we're coming back with more quarterbacks. We're going to be talking about Cade Clubnik, the star quarterback for those Clemson Tigers. And is he able to secure himself as a true 1st-round pick for the 2026 NFL Draft? We'll talk about that on tomorrow's show. So come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.